Okie dokie. I thought I would like to start with a story. Uh, it's a short one. It was amusing. So as I was going through, if those who don't know about this already, we are writing a book. We are almost done.
It is done. It's been done for 8 months, but I'm waiting to get it in my hot little hands.
Okay. It's titled Raising Conscious Parents. A contemplative approach to connecting with children begins by way of self-discovery. The self-discovery piece, crucial. Yeah. So we are a believer that is conscious parents, a believer in the power of consciousness. Turn inward. Used for investigation. You recall it always starts here first. So the story goes like this. I had an adolescent. She was 16. She came in about 3 months ago. I still see her. She had expressed concerns about how parents in general mistreat their children. She stated that parents emphasize too much on punishment and do not really spend time talking to their children. And she said, even when they talk, and here I think she was projecting, that is her parents, talking about her parents. Even if they talk to their children, they scold too much. And preaching doesn't count as talking. That's what she said. She indicated that children should be given the power to punish parents who engage in bad parenting, suggesting this, quote unquote. I asked her if I could use this quote. I did not put any identifiers, i.e. her name. All right. What's wrong with parents nowadays? This generation of parents are just messed up. They should learn to be more respectful to kids. As I was sitting there and that came out of her mouth, I was one part confused in a good way. I thought that was a very bright thing to address, particularly in the manner in which she addressed it. It was important to me, for me to read between the lines. So, for those of you who know conscious parenting, we don't just take anything that we experience at face value. There is meaning underneath. As a conscious parent, our job is to capture that. Right? All right, here's a test, a quiz from last week. When you are staring at the child, you're gazing at the child, and you are listening to that child, and you are listening very carefully. What are you listening to? You. You're listening to yourself. That is the practice of conscious parenting. You hear the child. It's not that you're not listening to the child. You will always listen to the child because As a parent, the authority figure, we have a tendency to pick things out. That is what the child says, and we are often prepared to retort. So, I will repeat that. When you are listening, listen very carefully, but listen to how you are responding to the child. You will have a reaction, whether it is what you hear in their words, what you see in their expression, what you notice in their body language. That will trigger for you a response. That response is what you observe, your response. This practice fosters a greater kind of intelligence for you as the parent, starting with perceptual awareness. Perceptual awareness.
And if you just respond, you are missing 98% of what's going on. It's like an iceberg. The child presents the initial superficial part, and that's all that you see. And you're never going to know what you're missing. Can I share a story?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So I was in the car with my daughter, and she asked me, what do you think about rap music? I don't particularly care for most rap. And I took it at surface level. I was not in my deepest moment in that particular day. And I said, well, I don't usually care for it. I don't listen to it. That's all the conversation went, right? And I thought that was it. And then later, 2 weeks later, Khan shares with me this discussion he had with Jasmine. And it was about the rap music. And the conversation was so profound. They talked for 2 hours about this topic. I got nothing. I missed this richness of what was going on internally for her because I looked at the face value. So we never know how much we're missing.
Yes, and the rap is merely the means to which we can better understand the child, right? Mm-hmm. The interest that the child takes on is they are merely the means for us to better comprehend her world. Internal, one part; external, meaning she is influenced by her environment as much as she is influenced by her parents. For me to keep up with the external influences, I must pay attention. I must be attentive. I must maintain focus. So I engage what is called, it end up being called this, but it's a conversation referred to as peace talk. Peace talk. I started the process of engagement with Jasmine since the age of 1. There's not much engagement in terms of conversation. Dialogue, it has yet to form. Logic and reason has yet to form. It does not form at least absolutely authentic and reasonable logic doesn't form within a child until about the age of 10. So what it looks like at the age of 1 is different. At 10, if you think about it, they still believe in Santa Claus, right? So at about that time, it's to start to, it depends on the child, 8 to 12. So I just say 10 as a general. But what happens at age 1, engagement is just in the form, first and foremost, eye contact. Right? When the child or an infant is reaching out, what's the first place, where's the first place we go to, right? We attempt to read the eyes or maybe the hands or the movement, right? So I made sure that I was engaging carefully, cautiously. So as she matured, so too her language, so too her understanding of the world around her and the world within her. To capture that inner verse, that is that process within her, I pay attention. So in the context of peace talk, there are two processes that must occur according to my experience. The first of which I call no discrimination. It doesn't matter what she says or how she says it. I shall not judge it. I shall not judge it. That being said, I am always judging it in my head. I cannot help that. I have a brain. The brain, the nature of the brain is to critique. We all have one. So we all will judge what our children say, good, bad, or neutral, right? But these judgments are mine and mine alone. They do not belong to her, and they shall not belong to her. I'm already projecting enough on my child, things that I may not be satisfied with. Like when I get frustrated, I project my frustration. Yes, it is manifested in my expression. To me, that is more than sufficient to worry and concern me. That is the one thing I do not wish for her to carry. I know that she does because I am a human being with human experiences displayed, these experiences displayed and manifested through action, through look, even through stillness. That may come off as appearing as withdrawal, right? Stillness, right? So I'm going to read a little bit of this. So I said the first part is no discrimination. Let me read that part first. This means that as I'm listening to her, I am avoiding judgment. This comes from the book, by the way, that we're writing. I'm going to keep throwing that out there so you can remember. Raising Conscious Parents. Is the camera on?
It's coming out 2030.
Awesome. Cool. 2030?
Yeah.
Wait, that soon?
That's
I have
so
a lot of work to do. I have a lot of, 2030 is.
I'm gonna kidnap that book. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
You may have to. This means that I am listening to her. I avoid judgment. And what she says, good, bad, or really bad, I am not to judge her. Even if my mind believes it is really bad. I may be disapproving, but I need to mind my own business. That is not my business, what she thinks or feels. That belongs to her. My job is to build consciousness that will allow her to pull from that consciousness that will help her discern good and bad.
That includes corrections. When we think they say a word wrong or something wrong, we always correcting in effort to make them better, but that doesn't work that way. It just makes them insecure and feel bad about themselves. No correction. Because I'm the queen of correction. Trust me, I'm no saint. But go ahead.
My thoughts are focused. My attention is focused only on the experience. That experience is being conveyed before me. That is my child, who is sharing with her experience as she lives it. If I were to impose right, wrong, or even good, so good is a judgment too. then I will only impose my will. So my thoughts and my focus is just on the experience. And with this focus on the moment by moment experience, I am wide-eyed curious about my daughter. What is happening as she is expressing herself? I get a glimpse into how beautifully she is designed. Good, bad, neutral. How beautifully she is designed in the way she is awareness, in the way that she is kind, in the way that she is sensitive. Therefore, no discrimination meant I would not react outwardly to judge her experience if I could help it, no matter the experience. Listening with no discrimination simply meant listening was to listen and not listen to criticize or preach or even to teach.
Or share your own stories. Because we always associate and we go on our diatribe and we miss the opportunity to join her world, his world.
When you find yourself saying, "Oh, honey, when I was little, I used to," stop, stop, stop. Because of this, I'm kind of working ahead. For this reason, the surest way, I'm kind of skipping here, the surest way to get the child to stop talking, the surest way to get a child to stop talking, if you keep talking. This is not rocket science. The surest way. And it is the surest way to keep the child from also being honest. She cannot trust that she will know anything if we are adamant in believing that we know everything. The child, when I work with kids, I will sometimes hear this. They express or convey their emotions or thoughts to me. And I say, I think it's important that you share that thought with your mom because it was a complaint about the mom. And the response often is this, no, because I know what she's going to say anyway. Uh-oh, somebody, what? You're smiling. Do we? Anyway, okay. I was gonna be. Don't be that parent, right? You're probably that parent already. I'm sorry. You suck. But you know what? You know what? It's okay.
We all suck.
It's okay. Join the club. That's what we should call this.
The suck club?
Yeah. And then we reward maybe the one who sucks, the suckiest. Because the suckiest is always the wisest if that sucky is processed through consciousness. I've said this before, anger, frustration, discrimination, hate should only be reserved for the conscious because they know its detriment. So they're wise in how they express it. So anger to the conscious is transformed into compassion. Okay, anyways, that was a side note. As much as we do talk at our children, we may end up saying something that contradicts the child without knowing. I'll give you an example of this one. The child says to you, "Mom, I think I'm depressed." and you come back with some version of, you have nothing to be, you got a roof under you. Come on, you can relate. Yeah. 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 They know that they have a roof over their heads. They know that that doesn't negate the fact they're still depressed. So
And some of those things, for me, an experience is almost like a vomit. Like I have such a strong reaction. You just throw up in your mouth and you swallow it. Don't let it come out. One time,
ew.
Jasmine said, she said, I don't know, she said she was depressed or something like that. Um, and oh my God, there was this volcano coming out, like, and I was able to stop it. One of my good moments, and then I just listened, and then she felt better and moved on, right? Like, but there was such an urge to correct that. The same example, right? What, we we take care of you, we listen to you, we try to be conscious parents, like negating her experiences is a
That
crime.
that is how you remedy sadness. Jasmine has come. Our daughter has come to me too, and I said that I'm feeling really down, and my response is always, "Awesome." No, it's not that, but it's like it's. Tell me more. What is it like for you? What is it? What goes through your mind? What goes through your heart? What goes through your soul when you're down? Help me understand. So, what I'm just doing is validating. And it is in that connection, the validation that creates the connection that helps alleviate the tension that is the sadness or depression. Those who suffer from that depression, one of the symptoms is the feeling disconnected. We have a personality test that has a scale that is called non-support. On that scale, when it is elevated, it indicates that the person doesn't feel like they have any support. Often the case, when that scale is elevated, so too is the depression scale.
And Freud believed depression was movement away from living, disconnection. The cure is connection. That moment. Not pretending it's not there. Say, no, you're not depressed. You're fine. You don't have anything to be depressed about.
Okay. The first process I mentioned earlier, class, what was it? Yes. Cautious. Please recognize when you are discriminating, judging her experience, good, bad, or neutral. Don't judge it as good either. Please, whatever you do, stop praising your kids. They don't need it. They need it sometimes. But this is why I say they don't need it. You are the praise. It is within the context of that presence that you are there is the validation and the praise that they are internalizing. Nothing more powerful than your capacity to recognize the child and then the child's capacity to recognize that you recognize her or him. That is the praise. That's all they need.
There is nothing more valuable than to be seen, heard, and felt. Nothing. And time tells you a person you're valuable. Respect.
All right. The second process I refer to as no determination. So this no discrimination, no determination. It is what it sounds like here. This means that I do not have an imposed agenda or goal or motive or expectation. I do not direct or determine how she is to think or feel for me. I do not abandonment. I do not abandon her thoughts or feelings by forcing her to act, react, and behave to satisfy my feelings, my thoughts. I do not characterize her experience as relevant or irrelevant, either way. When you are truly listening, you are neutral. Now, I may have other practitioners watch this video and say, wait, why can't we praise the child? As a matter of fact, research shows that if you praise a child 3 times a day, 3 to 8 times a day, I'm not doubting that. I can't contend against research. What I'm saying, there are other alternatives to praising. And that alternative is your presence. It's more powerful than anything you could say or do. Yes? I know you, yeah, I know you know it, Courtney. Yeah. Yes. Just your presence. Okay?
And this includes the non-determination includes not trying to rescue the child or rescue them from negative feelings or try to make them feel better. That can be extremely invalidating when the child is in the middle of having that experience. That is another thing that helps them shut down, especially when they get older. I know we all want them to feel good and we want to prevent them from suffering, but that causes more suffering. It doesn't work.
They feel good when you're present to them. Yeah? When you are there. Keep that in mind, please. Remember, she has her own thoughts. He has her own thoughts and feelings. And so do I. But I do not fill her up with my thoughts and feelings, because my thoughts and feelings may not be congruent to her experiences, to her experience. Now, I've grown up. I was her age once upon a time, and I experienced what she has experienced. But it doesn't mean we have the same interpretation of that experience. I cannot assume that she does, and therefore I cannot say, I know what you're talking about, or I know how you're feeling. I understand. Though I understand. Them be curse words in my vocabulary, I mean in my mind. Okay? I said that. Yeah, I said it. Them be curse words. So you never tell a person that you understand them. I understand. It is, you will put yourself in a very precarious situation. Okay. You cannot fully understand what another human being is experiencing, even though you have experienced the same kind of trauma, because you have different biology, you have different personality, you have different, no two experiences the same, even if two siblings were living in the same house or under the same roof. You have different expectations, you have different dreams, different goals. It influences how you take on your experience. So you cannot fully, them be curse words. You remember that. So I understand completely. You eradicate that from your personal lexicon. Get rid of it. Okay? And don't say that to, especially not to say that to a child. All right. Shoot, that's gonna get a lot of mail from professionals. Usually, I had a psychologist who had a talk with me once upon a time. Disagree with me completely. But here. All right. At this point, any questions regarding peace talks? I'll tell you how this worked then. The rules to peace talk. As I listen, I am to listen not just with my ears, but I listen with my entire body. So I listen with my lips, I listen with my nose, I listen with my ears, my body, my feet, my fingers, I listen. All right. So attending to the child is to attend with the eyes, I listen. Attend to the child with my mind, I listen. I attend to the child with my heart, it listens. With the whole of my being, I attend to my child, I am listening. I am itself. Listen. One with the experience, right? Is that more an Asian thing? So, anyways, that was stereotype, but I guess. Anyway, one with the experience. I am the listening. Okay? To the words she shares with me, I listen. To the facial expressions she makes, I listen. To the pauses in between the statements, I listen. The statement itself becomes an act of listening for me. So the words that she utters, I hold on to them very, very carefully. I listen. To the language she uses to form her statements, I listen. And then, throughout that entire process, to my mind that reacts to her experience, I listen. That's the all-inclusive. To my mind, right? And to my mind that reacts to her experience, I listen intently. And that's why 98% of the time, in the context of peace talks, I do not utter a word. I have over 300 recorded video and voice recorder of my peace talks with my daughter. I don't have time to do that. I was going to say I may bring it next time and maybe we can show it, but there's so much more to talk about. But in these recordings, you will hear or see that as I'm listening, I do this. What do you mean? I see. And how does that work? Ah. So you said that you feel upset by the situation. And if I'm hearing clearly, you also stated that you don't know what to do. Oh. I may add a suggestion in the form of this. So if I were in your position, how would you advise me? That's about it. If I were in your position, how would you advise me? If you can put the child in the position of wisdom, the one who teaches is the one who's wise. Yes. And you are the wisest who knows that you are not wise. That's the other side of wisdom, right? So if you can put the child in a position of being the teacher, watch how quickly they mature. Your daughter. Watch how quickly they mature. Maturity is a slow process for the average human being. Slow. To get the child to where you need them to be in terms of maturity, and I don't even know what I just said there because I don't know what that means. But to get them to continue to mature, you put them in a position where they are mature. So they're teaching you how to be more respectful.
If you believe that everything the child needs is already within them, your role as a parent is to foster the environment that allows them to discover that. You don't create that. Allow to discover that. And you'll be extremely surprised how much they already know. It's incredible what comes out. They know.
Very early on, they learn so quickly. At the age of 4, their learning capacity and speed is equivalent to that of a genius. A genius. They develop vocabulary, several thousand by the age of 7. And I know you didn't sit down with them with a Webster dictionary and taught them all this. So they pick up very quickly. So they have the natural gift for evolution. That's why I do not interfere. The reason why I just sit is what happens is that she's using me as a sounding board for which she is going to reflect. So as a thinker, most of us are, we engage in what's called introspect. The child's capable of that kind of self-reflection. Introspect is an even greater form of self-reflection to me because it captures the internal process and then it breaks it down. So and then it leads to more questions, and then you learn more about yourself, and that's how you get to know yourself, right?
And it's different than memorization. It's a profound experience of wisdom and learning. So when we are preaching or trying to teach them something, they are memorizing something they can easily forget or not take to heart. When it's internal, that's profound.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna a few things I wanted to do. I'm just gonna do this one then, okay? Trying to determine. Okay. This in the book is under. I have throughout the book what's called a mindful reflection. So it starts with a title, and then it describes, like, there's a chapter on just empathy alone, and it describes what empathy looks like, what it feels like, the experience of empathy, and so on. Then right below the description, there I have a lot of mindful reflection, and this is one of them. There are probably 100 or so in the book, but I thought this one would be perhaps compelling. Comes off as quite critical, but I love criticism, especially self-doubt and self-criticism. There's just something pleasurable about that. The recognition that I suck as a human being, first and foremost, and therefore it makes me suck like a father. But I don't know any other way to be able to understand who I am, what I am as a human being entirely without looking at all of me, right? So I may be aware that I have insight, but I am equally aware that I am ignorant. Okay? So a mindful reflection. We want to We want to set the child up to be like us, feel like us, think like us, live like us, and learn what we know, aligned to what we feel as acceptable, while opposing what she is. Then we change our minds. We do not want her to be like us, feel like us, think like us, act like us, or live like us because we want a better life for her. Although we expect her to understand what we know, we do not want her to learn what we understand. Despite how our life is a contradiction, we will decide for her how to live a better life anyway. But we cannot clearly define what better looks like because we ourselves are not living that life. We may be imperfectly hypocritical, but even if we are living a good enough life, we are still perfectly hypocritical. So we decide to compensate by overcompensating, and we change ourselves by changing the child. By defining for the child that a better life means a different child. And a better life for the child looks like a child who must demonstrate respect, civility, maturity, and selflessness, all of which may be taught in the following way. We want the child to learn how to regulate her emotions so that we don't lose ours. We want her to think for herself, but we tell her what she should think of herself. We need her to learn to listen because we don't know how to speak. But we want her to speak up and explain her actions because we don't know how to listen. We want her to be respectful so it doesn't appear that we are unkind. We need her to be strong because we are afraid to be weak, but we want her to be weak so we can appear to be needed. We want her to believe, yet we don't accept her beliefs. We expect her to believe us, even if our actions contradict our beliefs. We will believe how she feels as long as we suppress what she's feeling, and yet still want her to feel as long as it is about our feelings. We confuse judging with thinking, discriminating with discerning, criticizing with critiquing. We confuse our shadows with our child. We see bad as good, good as bad, right as wrong, and wrong as right. It is an incredible thing when we can come to realize how this all defines the child's state of mind. And we wonder as we wonder why the child is so confused, angry, sad, and afraid. We wonder and continue to wonder why the child fights or avoids and ignores us. We wonder why the child doesn't see us as earnest as we are challenging her sincerity. We reason that the child appears to us disengaged and lost. All the while, we are undermining her ability to think, which makes her lost, her ability to feel, which makes her lonely. We see little reasons to be concerned about her in some areas when we should be concerned about. Then we see a lot of reasons to be concerned about her in other areas when we should not be concerned about. But we refuse to acknowledge concerns about us in most areas that we should be very concerned about. And yet, as much as we wonder, we seem to dare not wonder that we are the ones who are the confused, sad, angry, and or afraid. I would say that was inspired by the amalgam of the experiences over a period of 17 years of experience, having spoken to children and adolescents. I would not have been able to recognize or achieve or establish that level of insight without that experience. In what I see and feel, and time again, 17 years, and it continues to this day, time and time again, up to this day, I saw 4 kids, adolescents today, 6 yesterday, and 7 the day before. It's the same old story. And when I said earlier that we suck, I really mean it. But that being said, it's not all doom and gloom. As long as you are conscious, as long as you employ that conscious capacity or ability, along with your empathy and sensitivity, topped with compassion. This is the very thing that will allow you to see far greater, one part vast and deep, child, infant, listen, okay? One part vast and deep, that the child deserves. What she or he will feel within the context of that depth will elicit a response in kind. The discovery that she will achieve or attain is personal or self-enlightenment. Self or personal enlightenment, having achieved that, does not prevent her from feeling the pain and suffering that we all humans do. But what it does do, it will build upon the many other 700 plus human traits. Maybe 300 of those are positive traits that will set the foundation for perspective, that will set a foundation that will become the resource for which she will reach for in times of need.
Rise above, resiliency.
One more final quiz question, okay? To determine if you were listening. Paul, you have an F for being incorrect last week. This is your chance to step up or step out. Oh, it's harsh. Tough love. Tough love. There are 2 things the child is most familiar with when it comes to describing the parent. The first is love. They will know if you love them because they will feel it. What is the second? You just, that's an F plus. Hypocrisy. Yes, there are two things that I assure you that they will be able to detect just by your presence alone, in the way that you act, the love that you extend, and the hypocrisy you ooze. You will hear kids say, my parents tell me to listen, but they don't spend a moment listening to me. They tell me to be respectful, but their tone is disrespectful. Hypocrisy.
So, if you need to get your own data on this, go back to your own childhood and remember how you felt with your parents. So, if you doubt any of that we're talking about, you're going to feel the other side as a child. What was it like for you? You have the data already within you. And then we grow up to do the same thing. Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, take it seriously, but have fun in parenting. You don't have to take it too seriously. It's a journey, and we know that. A journey that consists of it is an emotional, mental, psychological, and or a spiritual one that demands our attention. The child is in need. You recall last week what I said regarding that the child's survival. The child's survival starts with the parent. So I hope that until I see you next week again, that when you have kids or grandkids or great grandkids, sorry. I mean, I'm fond of you. I'm picking on you. See differently, yeah, with your eyes. Yeah, smile with your eyes along with your mouth, right? And you see, so when you are around a child and you see a child, imagine a flower as you place it on their shoulder, right? You are, as the late Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh says, a lamp of mindfulness shining ever so brightly, emanating from you an awareness, a gentleness, a kindness, and a gratitude. Anytime you are around your child, have it emanated. And what will occur is a brighter external environment for the child to see. Even if the world is inspired by tragedy, the child will have had the experience of your light, and it becomes the anti-fragility that will help the child defend against tragedy. It is not that the child will not experience tragic events. They will. It is that they can take that event and it becomes nothing more than a butterfly flying across the sky. Just a moment in time, transformed into a something beautiful. Yes, death can be beautiful too. It is scary for us because we are consumed by fear. But it is that very same fear that will inspire you to parent a particular way. a way that could be detrimental to the child's beingness. So until next time, we're going to stop now for questions or comments, but I'll end it with this for myself. Until next time, to be around a child, turn on yourself, that lamp of mindfulness. Okay?
Questions, comments?
So when you guys were talking about the child will be influenced by his or her environment, that's the real factor. And we can get in the way when we're preaching and doing all those things, right? I think some people's intuition is, there's a fear there of, in particular, the rap music, right? There's language, there might be certain songs that have a certain message behind it. And so I think there might be an assumption there that that's going to influence the way they think and see women, men, society, all those things. So I think a lot of people might have the thought, shouldn't we control that environment for our kids and keep them from things we view as immoral or dangerous?
It can have an influence, but it will have to contend against yours. So if you have a strong bond with a child, then that bond is consolidated and it is predicated on profound respect. That very bond that you have with the child has been implanted within. You started very young, you started when the child was very young, very early in your parenting. That seed of compassion and discernment is in part of that foundation. The music, the rap that has the influence will have to contend against you. You will always be more powerful.
So really quick, so we have not limited Jasmine access to internet. We don't monitor her. We don't limit time. We don't watch. We don't figure it out. We don't know what she's watching. She shares with us, so we know what she's exposed to. And a lot of conversations have told me what she has seen. She has so much discernment at this point that she can listen to music that has curse words, but she doesn't curse. So that's one example. I can go on and on and on with what she's been exposed to, and she is able to make a choice that is value congruent and healthy boundaries for herself.
You influence that power. And discernment, by the way, is considered the highest form of intelligence in Asia. Your ability to distinguish reality from unreality. Jasmine was born to discern the difference. Born with a capacity to learn, but learn through the example. Her ability to recognize truth and untruths, reality and unreality, was learned through us,
And
not by us.
Yeah, and she has surpassed me. Like, I was a good kid. I never got in trouble. I didn't curse. I did all those things in general. But when we are around and we're having experiences together, she's so much more profound in her value system than I ever been. It's just incredible to see that ability and that compassion and that goodness, right? It's a judgment, but kind of this moral system that is so beautiful, beyond mine, you know. And I have examples, but I'm not gonna bore you with it. I have tons of examples. But I'm the type that I try to put back things if I don't want it anymore. You know, in the supermarket, everybody throws it everywhere. I worked in the supermarket. But one time I was tired and I put it in the wrong place. She looked at me. First, she was extremely disappointed. She picked it up and she took it back. Not a word said, right? She didn't demean me. She went and put it back. You know? Like,
Quickly to your point, I remember being a kid, you asked this.
yeah.
I like that fact even when my parents had restrictions on things, I would find ways to
Mhm.
access that music just behind their back.
And one day Jasmine wasn't on her phone. And I was, oh, what's going on? She goes, oh, I am putting a no tech day. She imposed it on herself. And she limits her own tech now. I don't have to do anything. She decided it was good for her not to be on the phone all day. Where does it come from? We never said that. We never limited, right? Like, it's amazing to see how the child has immense capacity to know what is how to live well, right? Any other questions or comments or concerns?
So you want to know how to discipline kids, huh? Don't go there with me, please. There's a way, but it will be different than what we are accustomed to in this culture.
Yeah. Okay, we passed time, but yeah.
So as educators, I'm curious, do you guys have a viewpoint? Earlier you were talking about listening to where you're careful not to teach, but I know you're not against teaching because you teach and you work with kids and those things. So in brief, what do you see teaching look like? And how is it different than the standard way most of us try to teach?
So what I do is try to get a profile of the client or the person. In this case, if it was Jasmine, I have her profile, right? Psychological. So based on that profile or the understanding of that human person regarding seeking to determine her strengths and weaknesses. So if for Jasmine, intellectualization is her gift, I teach, and the best form of my teaching is by example. So like if I want to teach respect, that's very simple. I listen to her. She's going to feel validated, i.e. respected. That's how I teach. It is more profound in terms of its impact when it is experienced, not just relayed through words, such as be respectful, right? So like, thank you. I never taught her to say thank you. I hear parents sometimes instill, say thank you. How I taught Jasmine was when she was little. I actually began this when she was about 1 year old. We would go out for ice cream. We receive our ice cream. And I say to the vendor, I appreciate your service. Thank you. As I'm holding her on my left arm. To this day, we went to McDonald's yesterday, 2 days ago. We didn't eat the food though. We just went, yeah, yeah. Because we're healthy that way. Well, I'm sorry. Okay, focus. Paul, focus. That's called, blaming.
Projection.
She was with her friend. That was last week. She was with her friend in the back of the car. We did go to McDonald's and we did eat. But in any case, I purchased in the back seat. I hear, "Thank you for your service." The person says, "Oh, what was that voice?" I said, "Oh, it's my daughter in the back." And our windows are tinted, so he heard it. "Thank you for your service." Huh, cool, huh? So teaching. Next week, I'm going to talk about 3 ways of teaching that will consolidate the lesson you want to teach. Okay.
Thank you so much.